My name is Iris Tremaine, and I just turned 18. At my birthday party last night, my dad pulled me aside and whispered, "When this is over, you're going to sign some papers for Uncle Wade. Just a formality." I smiled. I nodded. Then I walked into the kitchen, opened my laptop, and quietly transferred my entire multi-million-dollar inheritance from my grandparents into an irrevocable trust, just as a precaution. The next morning, my parents and my younger sister found out that the cabin, the savings, the investments, everything, was locked behind a legal wall they couldn't touch. My dad turned white. My uncle, who had already signed a deal to sell property he never owned, called a lawyer. Before I tell you what happened next, please hit like and subscribe. Drop your city and local time below. I love knowing where you're listening from. Now let me take you back 6 years, to a summer at Cedar Lake, when my grandfather said something I didn't understand until last night. The summer I turned 12, my grandfather Harold Tremaine picks me up in his truck and drives me 40 minutes to Cedar Lake. The cabin sits back from the water, surrounded by white pines so tall they block the afternoon sun. The porch sags on one side. The screen door doesn't latch right. It smells like wood smoke and old books and something sweet I can never quite name. "Grab the other end," Grandpa says, lifting a fence rail. I do. We spend the morning replacing 3 rotted posts along the south side. He doesn't rush me. He shows me how to check for soft spots by pressing my thumb into the grain. If it gives, it's done. Inside, Grandma Vivian has iced tea and 2 sandwiches waiting on the kitchen table, the one Grandpa built himself the year they got married. She's reading on the porch when I come out, and she pats the chair beside her. We sit and watch the lake until the light turns gold. "This cabin stays in the family," Grandpa tells me that evening, wiping sawdust off his hands. "But family isn't always blood, Iris. Family is whoever shows up." I don't fully understand what he means. I'm 12. I think he's being poetic. He isn't. That whole summer, I come back to Cedar Lake every weekend. I learn where the water heater leaks, which window sticks, how to bleed the radiator in October. Grandma teaches me to organize the bookshelves by color because it makes the room feel warmer. Grandpa shows me the property line markers, old iron stakes he hammered in himself. I don't know then that my grandfather is already talking to a lawyer about exactly this place, about exactly me. Back home, the air is different. Our house in Ridgemont is fine. 3 bedrooms, a yard that needs mowing, a garage my dad uses as an office for his building supply store. Fine. Not warm, just fine. My sister Kelsey is 10, and she has the bigger bedroom. Redecorated last spring, lavender walls, a desk lamp that costs more than my entire bookshelf. My room still has the carpet from the previous owners. At dinner, my dad brings up the cabin. "Dad's place is just sitting there losing value," Greg says, cutting his steak. "Property taxes alone are killing us. We should sell it, reinvest." My mom nods. "Makes sense." "Grandpa said the cabin stays in the family," I say. Greg laughs. Not a mean laugh. Worse, a dismissive one. "You were 12, Iris. He was being nice." Nobody asks me anything else. The conversation moves to Kelsey's debate trophy. Regional finalist, very impressive, and Denise has already framed the certificate. "I won the district science fair 2 weeks ago. The ribbon is still in my backpack." After dinner, I clear the plates. On the counter, half hidden under a grocery list, there's a glossy flyer. Ridgeline Development. Lakefront lots, premium prices, now acquiring. There's a handwritten phone number in the margin. I don't know whose handwriting it is, not my dad's. I put the flyer back exactly where I found it. Upstairs, I sit on my bed and think about Grandpa's kitchen table. The one he built with his hands. The one where Grandma sets my sandwich without asking what I want, because she already knows. I think about the flyer downstairs. Someone is already measuring my grandparents' home in dollar signs. Grandpa Harold dies 2 years later. I'm 14. The funeral is on a Tuesday. Gray sky, damp grass, folding chairs that sink into the lawn. I sit in the second row holding his handkerchief. Blue plaid, frayed at the edges, smelling faintly of pine. At the reception, I notice Greg and his brother Wade standing by the dessert table, not eating. Talking low. Wade has a folder tucked under his arm. Greg keeps nodding. I catch one sentence from Wade. We should move on this before probate gets complicated. They're talking about the cabin, at the funeral. I say nothing. I'm 14. I have no power, no voice, and no idea that my grandfather already accounted for this exact moment. 2 years pass. I'm 16. Grandma Vivian gets sick in March and is gone by June. She holds my hand the last time I visit, her grip surprisingly firm. "The cabin is yours, Iris," she whispers. "Don't let them take it. Promise me." "I promise, Grandma." She squeezes once and closes her eyes. After the funeral, another gray day, same folding chairs. Greg sits at our kitchen table and says to Denise, "Now we can finally sort out the property." He says it with relief, like something heavy has lifted. That same evening, Wade calls. I hear Greg on the phone in the garage, pacing. "Yeah, no, I agree. Let's get it moving." His voice is lighter than it's been in weeks. I'm standing in the hallway holding a glass of water, and I realize something that sits in my chest like a stone. My grandmother's death isn't a loss to them. It's a clearance. I don't cry that night. I make a different kind of decision. I just don't know how to act on it yet. Between 16 and almost 18, the cabin becomes my quiet rebellion. Every Saturday morning, I drive out to Cedar Lake in the used Honda I bought with babysitting money. I patch the porch screen. I replace the weather stripping on the back door. I sweep pine needles off the roof because Grandpa taught me that's how leaks start. At home, the conversations shift. The cabin stops being Grandpa's place and starts being the family property. Greg says this at dinner like it's always been true. Wade shows up more often now, every other Sunday, sometimes with manila folders, sometimes with a laptop open to real estate listings. I try once. "What about Grandma's wish? She wanted me to keep it." Denise puts down her fork gently, the way she does before correcting Kelsey's homework. "Your grandma was emotional at the end, sweetie. This is business." Business. That's the word they use for everything that used to be love. By 17, Greg starts being more direct. "When you turn 18, we'll figure this out as a family." The way he says family, I know it means my way. One November afternoon, alone at the cabin, I'm clearing out the hall closet. Behind a stack of old quilts, I find a sealed envelope in Grandma Vivian's handwriting. My name on the front. Inside, a single business card. Margaret Caldwell, attorney at law. Below her name, printed in small type, Tremaine Family Trust. My hands shake, not from fear, from recognition. Grandma left this here for me to find. She knew I'd be the one cleaning out closets. Not Greg, not Wade, me. I slip the card into my wallet. I don't call. Not yet. 3 months before my 18th birthday, Margaret Caldwell calls me first. The call comes on a Thursday evening in February. I'm in my room doing calc homework when my phone shows an unknown number with a local area code. "Iris? This is Margaret Caldwell. I was your grandparents' attorney." Her voice is steady, professional, and careful, like someone who's rehearsed this opening. "I need to speak with you before your birthday. There are things you need to know, and there isn't much time." She tells me to meet her the following Saturday at her office downtown. Alone. I go. Margaret Caldwell is in her late 50s, silver-haired, with reading glasses on a chain around her neck. Her office is small, organized, and smells like old paper and coffee. She sits across from me and opens a folder. "Your grandparents hired me 6 years ago," she says. "They established an irrevocable trust, the cabin, a savings account, and an investment portfolio. Total value approximately $2.1 million. All of it is held in the trust. You are the sole beneficiary." I feel the room tilt slightly. My grandparents left me everything? They transferred it into the trust while they were alive. Legally, it never entered their estate. It can't go through probate. Your father and uncle have no claim. She slides a document across the desk, a summary of the trust, my name on the second line. "The title to the cabin was recorded under the trust at the county recorder's office 6 years ago. Your father doesn't know that." "Why didn't they tell him?" Margaret pauses. "Your grandfather said, and these are his words, 'My sons will sell that cabin before the funeral flowers wilt.'" The room is quiet. I stare at the paper with my name on it. "There's something else," Margaret says. "Someone has been making inquiries at the county recorder's office about the cabin's title within the last month." I start paying attention after that meeting. Not suspiciously, just quietly. The next Sunday, Wade comes over for dinner. Afterward, he and Greg disappear into the garage. The door is open a crack, not enough to see, but enough to hear. Wade's voice. I already signed the purchase agreement with Ridgeline, $450. But we need the title clean before closing. Greg. How do we get it clean? Quit claim deed. Dad's gone, mom's gone. We're the legal heirs. We quit claim the property to ourselves, record it, and sell. Is that legal? It's a standard real estate transfer between heirs. Nobody's going to question it. A pause. Then Greg, quieter. What about Iris? My chest tightens. Wade's answer comes fast, like he's already thought about it. She's 17, Greg. She can't do anything. And by the time she's 18, the sale goes through. Done deal. She'll be upset. She'll get over it. We'll give her a cut. 50 grand for college. She should be grateful. I step back from the garage door. My hands are cold. Wade has already signed a purchase agreement, $450,000, with a development company, for a cabin he doesn't own, on land held in a trust he doesn't know exists. That night, I sit on my bed and text Margaret 2 words. They're accelerating. Her reply comes in 3 minutes. I expected that. Come see me Saturday. We'll prepare everything you need. I close my phone and stare at the ceiling. In the next room, Kelsey is watching a show, laughing at something. Downstairs, my parents are loading the dishwasher, talking about weekend plans like nothing is happening. And in the garage, somewhere in Wade's folder, there's a contract that's already worthless. He just doesn't know it yet. Saturday. Margaret's office. She lays out the timeline on a legal pad, drawing lines between dates like a battle plan. The cabin title is already under the trust. If Wade files a quitclaim deed, the county recorder should reject it because the chain of title won't match. The property hasn't been in your grandparents' personal name for 6 years. But, if he submits additional documentation, an affidavit of heirship, maybe a falsified death certificate, he could create what's called a cloud-on title. That won't give him ownership, but it could tie the property up in litigation for a year or more. So I have to act first. You have to act on time. She taps the calendar. The moment you turn 18, you're a legal adult. You can formally accept the role of successor beneficiary. Once you sign, I file a lis pendens, a public notice of legal interest. At the county recorder's office first thing the next morning, that freezes the title. Nobody can record anything against it. I nod. What do I need to do? Show up, sign one document, I'll handle the rest. I sit with that for a moment. Should I tell my parents? Margaret takes off her glasses. Your grandfather specifically asked me to protect you, Iris, not to negotiate with them. I drive home. Greg is in the kitchen, cheerful. Good news, kiddo. I'm throwing you a birthday party. Whole family. Saturday night. It's a big one. 18. He smiles. Denise smiles. Even Kelsey claps. I smile too. My dad is planning my birthday party. My uncle is planning to sell my grandmother's cabin. And I am sitting at the kitchen table smiling, because in 9 days I am going to let them think everything is going exactly according to their schedule. I'm going to be honest with you. Sitting in my room that night, knowing what was coming, was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Part of me wanted to walk downstairs and just say it. Dad, I know. But Margaret was right. If I tipped them off, they'd find another way around it. So I stayed quiet, and I waited. Here's what I want to ask you. Have you ever had to stay silent to protect yourself, even when every part of you wanted to speak up? Tell me in the comments. I read them, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because this story is about to turn. 5 days before my birthday, my mom sits down next to me on the couch. She's using her "let's talk like adults" voice, soft, practiced, slightly rehearsed. Now that you're almost 18, Denise says, there are some family decisions we should make together. Together. The word lands like a costume. The cabin costs money to maintain, she continues. Taxes, insurance, repairs. Your dad's business has been struggling, and if we sell, we could pay off the debt and set up a college fund. For you and Kelsey. Both of you. Grandma wanted me to keep it. Denise's expression shifts, a flash of impatience, quickly smoothed over. Your grandma was very sentimental at the end, Iris, but sentiment doesn't pay property taxes. Greg walks in right on cue. I wonder if they planned this. I've already talked to a buyer, he says. Good price, fair deal. Who's the buyer? He blinks. A development company. Wade knows them. What company? A longer pause. Ridgeline something. They're reputable. I don't push further. I'll think about it, I say. Greg pats my shoulder. That's my girl. He walks away satisfied, like he's just closed a negotiation. Later that night, Kelsey knocks on my door. She's in pajamas, hair still damp from the shower. Iris? Yeah? She sits on the edge of my bed, picking at a thread on the comforter. Mom and Dad keep talking about the cabin at night, after I'm supposed to be asleep. She looks at me sideways. They sound different, like they're planning something. Different how? Like they're excited, but also nervous. She pauses. Is something going on? I pull the blanket over her feet. Don't worry about it, Kels. She nods but doesn't look convinced. I said I'd think about it. That's not a yes. And they know it, which is why they'll keep pushing. 3 days before my birthday, Uncle Wade shows up unannounced. He catches me in the driveway as I'm coming back from the grocery store. Casual clothes, big smile, leaning against his car like he just happened to be in the neighborhood. Wade is a real estate agent. Nothing he does is accidental. Hey, kiddo, got a minute? Just want to talk. Uncle to niece. We sit on the front steps. He leans forward, elbows on his knees. Here's the thing, Iris. That lake lot? Just the land alone is worth $450. I can get us a deal with a buyer I trust. Fast close, clean paperwork. And what do I get? $50,000, cash, for college. I let the number hang in the air. 50 out of 450? Wade smiles like I've said something cute. You're 18, Iris. 50 grand is a lot of money for someone your age. Most kids would jump at that. Whose name is on the deed, Uncle Wade? The smile freezes. Just for a second. A flicker behind the eyes, a micro-adjustment, then it's back. Your grandparents. But they're gone now. Passes to your dad and me as next of kin. That's not how it works. I know it. He should know it. He sells houses for a living. But he's counting on me not knowing. I'll think about it, I say again. Wade stands, brushes off his jeans. Don't overthink this one, Iris. Opportunities like this don't wait. He drives away. Before he's even at the end of the street, he's on the phone. I can see his mouth moving through the driver's window. That night, I text Margaret again. They're accelerating. She replies, stay the course, 3 more days. 3 more days. I can do 3 more days. The night before my birthday, I drive to the cabin alone. The road is quiet. Cedar Lake sits flat and dark under a half moon, and the pines along the bank look like cutouts against the sky. I park in the gravel patch Grandpa leveled himself, walk up the porch steps, second one still creaks, and sit in the chair next to the one that used to be his. The air smells like rain and pine resin. I check my email. Margaret has sent the full document package, the acceptance of successor beneficiary form, the beneficiary designation confirmation, a 1-page summary of the trust terms. Everything formatted, flagged with sticky tabs, ready for a signature. My signature. At midnight. I read each document twice. Then I close my laptop and listen to the lake. Grandpa used to sit right here and say, patience isn't weakness, Iris. It's timing. I always thought he was talking about fishing. The tears come without warning. Not a collapse, not a breakdown, just a quiet overflow that I let happen. I cry because I wish this were different. I wish my dad had been the kind of man who would have taken me fishing at this lake instead of calculating its resale value. I wish my mom had asked me what I want instead of telling me what's practical. I wish I didn't have to sign a legal document at midnight to protect myself from the people who are supposed to protect me. But wishes don't hold up in court. Trust documents do. I wipe my face, lock the cabin door, drive home, lie down in bed, set my alarm for 11:45 p.m. In 6 hours, I turn 18. In 7, my family finds out that the cabin was never theirs to take. 11:50 p.m. My bedroom door is closed. The house is silent. Greg and Denise went to bed an hour ago, and Kelsey's light went off at 10. I open my laptop and connect to the video call. Margaret appears in her home office, reading glasses on, a stack of papers lit by a desk lamp. "Ready?" she asks. "Ready." When the clock hits midnight, you are a legal adult in every sense that matters. I'll walk you through the signing. She goes through it one more time, clear and precise. I sign the acceptance of successor beneficiary form, a single-page document that confirms I'm formally receiving the trust my grandparents created. From that second forward, every decision about the trust's assets runs through me and Margaret as co-decision makers. "Now," she says, "first thing tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., I'll go to the county recorder's office and file a lease pendens. That's a public notice that says there's a legal interest pending on the property. Once it's recorded, no one can sell, transfer, or encumber the title while it's active." What if they've already filed something? Then whatever they filed will be flagged. The chain of title will show the trust, recorded 6 years ago, not your father. Any conflicting document gets kicked back. I look at the signed paper in my hand. My name in ink, my grandparents' names in print above mine. Margaret's voice softens, just slightly. "This isn't a trick, Iris. This is your grandfather's last gift. You just had to be old enough to accept it." The clock on my laptop reads 12:03 a.m. I'm 18. I'm the legal beneficiary of the Tremaine Family Irrevocable Trust. And downstairs in the garage, my uncle's quitclaim deed is already a dead document. He'll find that out in about 9 hours. Across town, in the kitchen of a rented duplex, Wade Tremaine is printing documents. I don't know this at the time. I piece it together later, from what the county clerk told Margaret and what Greg eventually admitted during one of our harder conversations. But here's what happened that same night, while I was signing my acceptance form upstairs. Wade printed a quitclaim deed, a one-page form that transfers property rights from one party to another without any warranty of ownership, legitimate when used correctly, criminal when the person signing it has no rights to transfer. He called Greg at 11:30 p.m. "Everything's ready. We file at 9. The recorder's office opens at 8, but I want to make sure Iris is distracted with birthday stuff first." Greg: "You sure about this?" Wade: "They're dead, Greg. We're next of kin. It's simple." It wasn't simple. It was forgery dressed up in standard real estate language. Wade also had a second document open on his laptop, a purchase agreement with Ridgeline Development, LLC. Purchase price, $450,000. Closing date, 30 days after the quitclaim deed was recorded. If Wade couldn't deliver a clean title within that window, he'd owe Ridgeline a $45,000 penalty, plus damages. He'd signed that agreement 2 months earlier, before my grandparents' title had even been fully searched, before he'd verified that the property was in the estate at all. He assumed it was. He assumed nobody had planned otherwise. Wade had bet nearly $500,000 on a piece of paper that didn't belong to him. He just didn't know it yet. And in 9 hours, when he walked into the county recorder's office with his quitclaim deed and his confident handshake, he was going to find out that the entire chain of title told a different story. My birthday party starts at 4 in the afternoon. The living room is full, maybe 20 people. Neighbors, a few of my parents' friends from church, 2 of Greg's old business contacts, Kelsey's best friend's family. Nora Beckett from next door to the cabin is here too, sitting near the window with a glass of lemonade and sharp, watchful eyes. There are balloons, a banner that says Happy 18th in silver letters, a sheet cake from the bakery on Main Street. I smile. I thank everyone. I open small gifts, a journal, a gift card, a picture frame. In my jacket pocket, folded into a neat square, is the signed acceptance form from last night. I don't touch it. I don't need to. It's already done. Greg stands up near the cake table and taps his glass. The room quiets. "I just want to say, Iris is officially an adult today. Denise and I are so proud of her." He pauses, looking around the room. "And as a family, we have some exciting plans for the future." He looks at me and smiles. "Right, Iris?" Every face in the room turns toward me. "Thanks, Dad," I say. Nothing more. Greg waits a beat, then laughs it off and raises his glass. The room follows. Conversation resumes. From the corner of my eye, I see Wade by the front door, checking his phone, typing something fast with both thumbs. Nora catches my arm as I pass by the window. She leans in close, smelling like lavender hand cream. Your grandmother would want you to know something, she says quietly. I saw your uncle at the cabin last week, with 2 men in suits. They were walking the lot line with a measuring tape. Wade brought the buyers to the property before he even had the title. That's how confident he was. After the cake is cut and the plates are passed around, Greg stands again. This time his voice is louder, more deliberate, the voice of a man who's been waiting for an audience. Before we wrap up, I want to share something with everyone. He puts his hand on Denise's shoulder. Our family has been going through a tough time financially. Some of you know about the store. It's been hard. Sympathetic murmurs. But Harold and Vivian, my parents, they left us something. The cabin out at Cedar Lake. And as a family, we've decided to sell it. To secure everyone's future. We've decided. I feel the words land on my skin like cold water. He's announcing it, in front of 20 people, like it's settled. He looks right at me. Iris understands. She knows this is what's best for all of us. Right, sweetheart? The room waits. Every eye finds me. Neighbors who've known me since I was small, Nora with her lemonade, Kelsey half hidden behind the couch. Denise adds, smiling. It's what responsible families do. We sacrifice for each other. I set my fork on my plate. The clink is the only sound in the room. I never agreed to sell the cabin, Dad. Greg's smile stays fixed, but the muscles around his jaw tighten. She's kidding. Birthday nerves. I'm not kidding. Wade steps forward from the doorway. Come on, Iris. This isn't the time or place. I pick up my glass of water, take a slow sip, and set it down. You're right, Uncle Wade. This isn't the time. I hold his gaze. The time is 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Silence. Wade's phone buzzes in his pocket. He doesn't check it. No one in the room moves. The guests start leaving after that. Polite goodbyes, tight smiles, the kind of exit people make when they can feel a storm building inside someone else's house. Within 30 minutes, the living room is down to family, Nora, and 2 neighbors who seem unsure whether to go or stay. Denise waits until the front door closes behind the last near stranger, then turns on me in the kitchen. Her voice is controlled but pitched, just loud enough to carry. Do you have any idea what your father is going through? She steps closer. He might lose this house, Iris. Our house. The one you sleep in every night. And you're holding on to a cabin you visit on weekends? I visit every weekend, Mom. That's not the point. She presses her palms flat on the counter. We are a family. Families make decisions together. And if you loved this family, you wouldn't need a lawyer to tell you what to do. The room goes still. I stare at her. How do you know about a lawyer? Denise doesn't flinch. Wade found the business card in your bag last week. Margaret Caldwell. Who is she, Iris? My stomach drops. Not from fear, but from the realization that they've been going through my things, searching for something they could use. Before I can answer, Nora Beckett's voice cuts through from the kitchen doorway, even and firm. That girl has every right to talk to a lawyer, Denise. Vivian would have wanted that. Denise wheels around. This is a family matter, Nora, please. Nora doesn't move. She looks at me, then back at Denise. Vivian was my friend for 40 years. I think I know what she wanted. The silence between them could crack glass. I don't say another word. I don't need to. Not yet. Nora leaves. The neighbors slip out behind her with quiet goodbyes. Now it's just the 5 of us. Greg, Denise, Wade, Kelsey, and me. Greg closes the kitchen door. The fluorescent light buzzes overhead. He pulls out a chair, sits down, and folds his hands on the table like a man about to deliver terms. Here's what's going to happen, Iris. His voice is low, deliberate. Tomorrow morning, Wade and I go to the county office. We file the paperwork. The cabin sells. You get your share, a fair share, and we move on as a family. What's my share? 50,000. Out of how much? Greg doesn't answer. Wade, leaning against the doorframe, fills the gap. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I look at my dad. And if I say no? Greg's jaw sets. If you fight this, you're on your own. No more help with college. No more living under this roof. The kitchen is very quiet. The faucet drips once. You're threatening to kick me out on my 18th birthday? I'm asking you to be part of this family. I push back from the table, stand up. My voice is steady, even though my hands aren't. I am part of this family, Dad. I'm the part that keeps promises. I walk past Wade, past Kelsey, who's sitting on the stairs with her knees pulled to her chest, and I go upstairs. I close my door. I sit on the bed and breathe. Greg thinks his deadline is 9 a.m. at the county recorder's office. He doesn't know that Margaret's deadline is 8. I sat on my bed that night holding the acceptance form I'd already signed at midnight. My dad had just threatened to remove me from my own family if I didn't hand over a cabin that was legally mine. My mom said I didn't love them. My uncle was planning to file a forged deed first thing in the morning. And all I could think was, my grandmother was right. She knew exactly who they would become when the money was on the table. And she planned for it, years before it happened. If someone you loved ever prepared something to protect you, even after they were gone, I want to hear about it. Tell me in the comments. Now let me tell you what happened at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. The county recorder's office opens. The fluorescent lights flicker on. A clerk in a blue cardigan unlocks the front counter. Margaret Caldwell is the first person through the door. She's wearing a gray blazer and carrying a leather folder. She approaches the counter, presents 2 documents, a certified copy of the Tremaine Family Irrevocable Trust and a lis pendens notice, and asks for them to be recorded against the Cedar Lake property. The clerk reviews the paperwork, checks the existing title records, and stamps it. Recorded. Done. From this moment forward, anyone who pulls the title on the Cedar Lake cabin will see. Notice of pending legal interest. Tremaine Family Irrevocable Trust. Margaret Caldwell, trustee. Iris Tremaine, beneficiary. At 8:14 a.m., Margaret calls me. It's done. The lis pendens is recorded. The property is flagged. Whatever they bring in will be rejected on chain of title grounds. I'm sitting at the kitchen table eating cereal. Greg is upstairs getting dressed. Denise is making coffee. Normal morning sounds. Water running, a closet door, the clink of a belt buckle. At 8:30, Greg and Wade come downstairs together. Greg is wearing a button-down shirt, his business shirt, the one he wore to bank meetings before the store went under. Wade has a folder tucked under his arm, same folder as always. We'll be back by lunch, Greg says, grabbing his keys. I look up from my bowl. Good luck, I say. Greg pauses in the doorway, looks at me. Something in my voice, maybe. Or something in my face. Then he turns and walks out. I rinse my cereal bowl. I dry it. I set it in the cabinet. And I wait. I'll never know exactly what their faces looked like, but I know what happened, because Margaret was still at the recorder's office when they walked in. She stayed on purpose. 9:05 a.m. Wade approaches the counter. He slides the quitclaim deed across with a confident nod. Greg stands behind him, hands in his pockets, looking around the room like they'll be in and out in 10 minutes. The clerk takes the document, types the parcel number into the system, reads the screen, types again, then she stops. I can't record this document, sir. Wade leans forward. Excuse me? The property title is held under the Tremaine Family Irrevocable Trust. It was recorded in 2020. There's also a lis pendens filed this morning. That's impossible, Wade says. My parents owned that property. Sir, the deed was transferred to the trust 6 years ago. The chain of title is clear. This quitclaim doesn't match the current ownership record. Greg steps up beside Wade. There's no trust. Our parents never mentioned a trust. The clerk glances between them. I'd recommend you speak with the trustee listed on the filing, a Margaret Caldwell. Wade's hand goes flat on the counter. His face drains. Margaret's name, the name on the business card they found in my bag, is now on a public record they can't erase. Greg turns to Wade, slowly. You said this was simple. I didn't know about any trust. You're a real estate agent, Wade. How did you not check the title first? Wade opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. The clerk says evenly, Gentlemen, I'll need you to step outside if there's a disagreement. Margaret, seated in the waiting area near the door, watches them leave. She doesn't say a word. She doesn't need to. The call comes at 9:22 a.m. I'm sitting on the porch, watching the neighbor's sprinkler arc back and forth across the lawn. What did you do? Greg's voice is tight, shaking. I can hear traffic behind him. He's in the parking lot. I accepted what Grandpa and Grandma left me. That's all. You went behind our backs, with some lawyer we've never heard of. Margaret Caldwell has been the trust attorney for 6 years, Dad. You just never asked. A beat of silence. Heavy breathing. This is my parents' property, Iris. I'm their son. And they chose to leave it to me. I keep my voice even. Not because they didn't love you, but because they didn't trust you with it. The silence that follows is the longest of my life. I count the sprinkler rotations, 3 full arcs, before he speaks again. We'll fight this. You can try. But the trust is irrevocable. That means even I can't dissolve it. There's nothing for anyone to undo. You don't know what you're talking about. I do, Dad. I've had 3 months to learn. He hangs up. No goodbye. Just a click and dead air. I set the phone on the porch railing. My hands are shaking, not from anger, not from fear, from the weight of saying those words to my own father, from knowing that the man who taught me to ride a bike when I was 6 is the same man who just tried to sell my grandmother's home out from under me. I sit there until the shaking stops. It takes a while. Then my phone buzzes again. An unfamiliar number. A man's voice, brisk and corporate. Ms. Tremaine, this is Carter Briggs from Ridgeline Development. We need to talk. Carter Briggs speaks the way developers do. Fast, factual, and already calculating his next move before the current sentence ends. We have a purchase agreement with Wade Tremaine for the Cedar Lake property. He guaranteed clean title. We've just been informed there's a lease pendens on the parcel. That's correct. Can you explain the situation? Mr. Briggs, my uncle does not own that property. He never did. The cabin and the land have been held in an irrevocable trust since 2020. I'm the sole beneficiary. A pause, the sound of papers shifting on the other end. He represented himself as the heir. I understand, but representation doesn't create ownership. I'd recommend you discuss this with him, and possibly with your own attorney. Another pause, longer this time. Ms. Tremaine, is there any possibility of a sale? We'd be prepared to make a competitive offer directly to the trust. The property is not for sale. Understood. His voice hardened slightly. Then we'll be pursuing our remedies against Mr. Tremaine. I give him Margaret's number. Within the hour, she confirms to Ridgeline's legal team what I already told Carter. The trust is valid, Wade had no authority, and the purchase agreement was executed based on a misrepresentation of ownership. Ridgeline's response is immediate. They're pursuing Wade for breach of contract, the $45,000 penalty clause, plus damages. That afternoon, Margaret calls with one more piece of information. Her voice is careful but direct. Iris, the quitclaim deed Wade tried to file, it included a notary stamp. I had the recorder's office pull a copy before they rejected it. The stamp doesn't match any registered notary in the county. It appears to be forged. I close my eyes. That's a felony, isn't it? In this state, yes. My uncle didn't just try to steal my cabin. He committed a crime to do it. Greg comes home at 2 in the afternoon. He moves through the front door like a man carrying something invisible and very heavy. Denise is already in the kitchen, arms crossed, face blotched from what I'm guessing was an hour of angry crying. I'm at the dining table. I don't get up. Greg sits down across from me. He stares at the table for a long time. I'm going to lose this house, Iris. His voice is flat, emptied out. The bank is on me for $180,000. The store is gone. That cabin was supposed to be our way out. I know you're struggling, Dad. I'm sorry about the business. Then help us. The cabin was never your way out. It was Grandpa and Grandma's gift to me. A gift? He almost laughs. For what? You're 18. What does an 18-year-old need with a lakefront cabin? It's not about what I need. It's about what they wanted. Denise steps in from the kitchen doorway. They were old, Iris. They weren't thinking clearly at the end. They were thinking clearly enough to hire a lawyer 6 years before they died. Greg slams his palm on the table. I'll contest the trust. A voice comes through my phone. I'd called Margaret before Greg walked in and left the line open on speaker, not to trap him, to save time. Mr. Tremaine, Margaret's voice is steady, professional. Contesting an irrevocable trust that was established 6 years before the grantors' deaths, with full legal capacity documented and witnessed, will cost you more in legal fees than the property is worth. I'd strongly advise against it. The kitchen is silent. The faucet drips. Greg looks at me. Really looks. And for the first time, I see something I've never seen in my father's eyes before. Not anger. Recognition. 2 hours later, Wade calls the house. Greg picks up in the living room. I'm in the hallway, close enough to hear every word through the thin wall. Ridgeline is suing me. Wade's voice is stripped raw. $45,000 in penalties, plus damages. They're saying I committed fraud. Greg's reply is cold. Colder than I've ever heard him. Did you? I thought we owned it, Greg. You're a real estate agent. You do title searches for a living. How did you not check? I assumed. You assumed, and now I'm sitting here with nothing because you assumed. You wanted the money too. But I didn't forge a notary stamp, Wade. A long silence. I didn't forge. I just found a stamp and… That's forgery. You know that's forgery. Wade's breathing gets heavier. I need a lawyer. So do I. Greg pauses. Don't call this house again until you've talked to one. He hangs up. I hear him sit on the couch. The springs creak. Then nothing. I go upstairs. Kelsey's door is open. She's sitting on her bed with headphones around her neck, eyes wide. Is Uncle Wade in trouble? Yeah, Kels, he is. Is Dad? I sit on the edge of her bed. Dad made bad choices, but Uncle Wade made worse ones. She nods slowly, processing it the way 15-year-olds do, not fully understanding but knowing enough to be scared. I go to my room, sit by the window and look out at the street. A dog walker passes. A sprinkler hisses. The world goes on. I don't feel victorious. I don't feel satisfied. I feel like someone who just walked through a fire and hasn't checked yet to see what got burned. Over the next 3 weeks, the consequences fall like dominoes, and each one makes a sound. Ridgeline Development files a civil suit against Wade Tremaine, breach of contract, misrepresentation of title, and demand for the $45,000 penalty plus an additional $60,000 in damages and legal costs. Their attorney sends the complaint by certified mail to Wade's duplex. He signs for it on a Tuesday. The county district attorney's office receives a referral from the recorder's office regarding the forged notary stamp. An investigator is assigned. Wade's real estate license is suspended pending the outcome, which means his income, such as it was, stops. Word travels in a small town. Not because I say anything, I don't. But court filings are public record, and Ridgeline's lawsuit names the Cedar Lake property by parcel number. The neighbors at the lake read the local paper. They talk. By the second week, the story has made its way through the Rotary Club, the church parking lot, and the checkout line at Hanson's Market. Wade calls me once. I answer. Iris, please, can you ask your lawyer to drop the lis pendens? If the title is cleared, I might be able to negotiate something with Ridgeline, reduce the penalty. The lis pendens protects my property, Uncle Wade. It stays. Your grandparents would be ashamed of you. I let the sentence sit for a moment. Then I say quietly, my grandparents are the ones who set this up. They chose this. They chose me. So I don't think shame is what they'd feel. He hangs up. I set my phone down and look at the wall. There's a framed photo of Grandpa Harold on my desk. The one from the summer I was 12, both of us standing by the fence we fixed. I leave it where it is. Greg doesn't contest the trust. Margaret was right. The legal fees alone would bury him, and the case would go nowhere. An irrevocable trust established by mentally competent grantors, witnessed, notarized properly, and recorded years before their deaths, is about as airtight as a state law gets. Instead, Greg does what he should have done 2 years ago. He sells the building supply store, at a loss, but enough to negotiate a repayment plan with the bank. The house stays, barely. The savings don't. Denise goes back to work for the first time in a decade. She takes a position at a pharmacy on Lincoln Avenue, the same chain where she worked before Kelsey was born. She doesn't talk about it much. When neighbors ask, she says she wanted to stay busy. Nobody believes that, but nobody pushes. The town knows. Not every detail, but enough. Harold Tremaine's sons tried to sell his cabin, and the granddaughter stopped them. That's the version that circulates at the diner, at PTA meetings, at the gas station on Route 12. Some people think I was brave. Some people think I was cold. I don't correct either group. Greg and I don't speak for 2 weeks after that morning. The house is quiet in a way that feels permanent, like the silence has weight. Nora Beckett brings me pie one afternoon. Apple, still warm. Your parents made their choices, she says, setting the tin on my desk. But they're still your parents. Don't carry their shame. That's theirs. I nod. Then Kelsey calls one evening. She's at a friend's house, voice small. Iris? Yeah? I don't understand everything that happened, but I'm sorry they put you through this. My throat tightens. Thanks, Kels. Are you okay? I'm getting there. I drive to the cabin on a Saturday morning in late April. The dogwoods along the lake road are blooming, white and pale pink against the dark water. I unlock the front door with the same key Grandpa gave me when I was 14. In case you ever need to get in when we're not here, he said. I didn't know then that he meant permanently. The cabin smells the same. Pine and old books, and that sweet, faint something I've never been able to name. I think now it might be the wood itself. Decades of sun and rain soaked into the walls. I walk through every room. The kitchen table Grandpa built. Still solid, still level. Grandma's bookshelves, organized by color. The bedroom where she read to me when I was small. The porch where Grandpa and I watched the lake turn gold. In the desk drawer by the window, I find an envelope. My name on the front, in Grandpa Harold's handwriting. Margaret told me it would be there. She'd been saving it for after the trust was settled. I open it carefully. It's a letter. 1 page, written in blue ink, his handwriting getting looser toward the bottom the way it always did when he was tired. He tells me he knows his sons will try to sell the cabin. He doesn't blame them. Greg is his boy, and he loves him. But Greg never understood the difference between something that has value and something that's valuable. He says he chose me not because I'm perfect, but because I'm the one who asked whether the roof needed patching before I ever asked what the place was worth. The last line says, "Take care of it. It took care of you first." I fold the letter. I sit on the porch. I breathe. Margaret calls me the following week. Good news! The lis pendens can be withdrawn now that there's no active threat to the title. Once it's cleared, the property record will show the trust as sole owner. Clean, no encumbrances, no clouds. And Wade? He settled with Ridgeline, paid the $45,000 penalty out of a personal loan. The deal is dead. As for the forged notary stamp, the district attorney's office is reviewing the case. He could face a misdemeanor charge, possibly a felony depending on how the investigation goes. And his license? Suspended indefinitely. He can petition for reinstatement, but not while there's an active criminal referral. I sit with that for a moment. I don't feel satisfaction. I feel the kind of exhaustion that comes after a long illness. Not sick anymore, but not quite well either. There's one more thing, Margaret says. In the trust documents, your grandparents designated a separate educational fund, $50,000, earmarked specifically for your college expenses. It's been accruing interest for 6 years. The current balance is just over $58,000. My eyes sting. 50,000. The same number Greg offered me as my share of the sale. The same number Wade dangled like a bribe. My grandparents had already set it aside. Quietly, without telling anyone. Iris, are you there? Yeah. My voice cracks, just barely. I'm here. Your grandparents would be proud. I just kept a promise, Margaret. I enroll at Ridgemont Community College that week, environmental science, with a minor in forestry. The campus is 20 minutes from the cabin, closer than my parents' house. I fill out the housing forms. Under current address, I write the cabin's address for the first time. It feels like coming home, because it is. I ask Greg and Denise to meet me at the coffee shop on Birch Street. Neutral ground. Not the house, not the cabin. Somewhere public, somewhere calm. They arrive together. Greg is wearing a flannel I haven't seen in years. One of Grandpa's, I realize. Denise has her purse clutched tight against her side, the way she holds things when she's nervous. We order. I wait until the cups are on the table. I love you, I say. Both of you. I need you to know that, because what I'm about to say might not sound like it. Denise's jaw tightens, but she nods. The cabin is not for sale. Not now. Not ever. I won't be made to feel guilty for keeping a promise I made to Grandma. A promise she trusted me to keep because she didn't think anyone else would. Greg stares into his coffee. I'm not cutting you out of my life, I continue. But if we're going to have a relationship, it has to be built on respect. Not on what I can give you financially. Not on guilt. Not on the idea that I owe you something because you're my parents. Denise starts to speak. We just wanted what was best for... Then start by being honest about what happened. You tried to sell something that wasn't yours. You threatened to kick me out. You went through my bag. She closes her mouth. Greg still hasn't looked up. When he finally speaks, his voice is rough. I don't know how to fix this. You don't have to fix it today. I stand. I leave enough cash for all 3 coffees. I'll call you Sunday. He nods. One small nod. I walk out into the sunlight. It's the most I can hope for right now. And that's enough. Kelsey shows up at the cabin on a Sunday afternoon in May. She's carrying a pizza box and wearing the same oversized hoodie she's had since 8th grade. I brought lunch, she says. Hope you like pepperoni. Always. We sit on the porch with paper plates on our laps and the pizza box between us. The lake is still. A heron stands in the shallows near the dock, perfectly motionless, waiting for something below the surface. Kelsey eats slowly. She's not here for pizza. I didn't know about any of it, she says finally. Mom and Dad never told me. I know. Was I part of the problem? I look at her. 15, thin-shouldered, still growing into the shape of whoever she'll become. She didn't choose any of this. She didn't ask to be the favorite. She didn't know the attention they gave her was taken from somewhere else. You were a kid, Kels. We both were. She nods, pulls a piece of cheese off her slice and sets it on the edge of her plate. It's really beautiful here, she says, looking out at the water. Grandma used to say the same thing every single time she sat in that chair. Kelsey glances at the empty chair next to mine, Grandpa's chair, the one with the armrest he sanded smooth. Can I come back sometimes? Anytime. She leans her head against my shoulder, just for a moment. Then she sits up and takes another bite. We don't talk about our parents. We don't talk about trusts or lawsuits or forged documents. We talk about her school project, about the heron, about whether the dock needs new planks this summer. The cabin didn't just protect property, it made space for something new to start. Early June. 6 a.m. I'm on the porch with a cup of coffee, watching the mist lift off Cedar Lake. The pines are sharp against a pale sky. A loon calls somewhere out on the water. 2 long notes, then silence. I didn't win against my family. There's no winning when the people who hurt you are the people who were supposed to protect you. You don't get a trophy for surviving something that should never have happened in the first place. But I kept a promise. And for the first time in my life, I'm standing somewhere that belongs to me. Not because I fought for it, but because 2 people loved me enough to plan for exactly this. They saw the storm before I did. They built the shelter before I knew I'd need one. My grandparents couldn't stop my parents from being who they are. They couldn't make Greg less desperate, or Denise less afraid. They couldn't keep Wade from chasing money that wasn't his. But they could make sure I had ground to stand on. Literally. I think about the letter in the drawer, about Grandpa's words, the difference between something that has value and something that's valuable. This cabin has both. But only one of them can be measured, and my family spent 2 years focused on the wrong one. I sip my coffee. The mist clears. The lake turns blue. If you're listening to this and you feel like nobody's in your corner, I want you to hear me. Sometimes the people who protect you aren't the ones standing in front of you. Sometimes they planned for you years ago, quietly, without telling anyone. And sometimes all you have to do is show up, sign the paper, and keep the promise. Peace doesn't come from revenge. It comes from standing on something solid and knowing you built your life on it. That's my story. If it made you feel something, anger, relief, hope, or even just a little less alone, Then it did what I hoped it would. Now I have a question for you. If you could protect one thing in your life, a place, a person, a promise, what would it be? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. And if this story stayed with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. If you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love to have you here for the next one. Check the description for more stories like this. I'll see you next time.